Man, it sure is good to be back into the reviewing game again. Those were some good days. But I need something for this episode to indulge away from the original children's cartoon slack. You know, it was adapted for TV or whatever, but I need something that wasn't in TV to begin with. Oh, what's this? Roald Dahl? Yeah, I remember reading all his books when I was a kid. They were pretty creative. Not to mention the movies sure weren't perfect, but hey, they had the creativity that had Roald Dahl's ingenious in there to begin with. That reminds me, not a lot of people talk about the BFG. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go into full screen for this one and see if it really holds up today. I'm sorry, I thought I was watching a children's movie, a film for the whole family, not this horror extravaganza that is rated you. What are you thinking when you possibly think about that? My name is PRESCHOOL GUY, but you may call me the Preschool Guy. In reality, I'm in my mid-20s. But at heart, this review right here, it's gonna be a real whiz popper. Roald Dahl, mastermind of pure imagination right here. Although he's done many a thing in his life, being the author to 20 books for kids alone, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, and the Beloved Witches, certainly has inspired many a reader and critic alike, including me when I was little. So naturally, watching his stories on the small screen for me back then was a pretty big thing. Then I grew up. We all know the fate of many movie adaptations for books, and a good chunk of them weren't given the treatment that Mr. Dahl would have loved to see them in his movies. I'm serious. Ever since Willy Wonka's release in 1970, Roald Dahl refused to be part of any adaptation of his books. In fact, he even protested outside a cinema for a showing of The Witches at one point. Oddly enough, though, it was the last adaptation for him to know before his untimely passing. Dedicated to the cause, this man was. However, there is one adaptation from the master that is Roald Dahl that many people may not realize that it exists. And wouldn't you know, it's animated. And the other funny thing is, the creators behind this wonderful forgotten gem are the same people behind this. With that said, the BFG. BFG, which stands for Big Friendly Giant, was released for British television in 1989, 7 years after the book hit the shelves. Going into this knowing that Cosgrove Hall Films had a major hand into making this, you'd think some really campy and really embarrassing kid stuff is to be had here. Campy? Maybe. But embarrassing? No! There are actually some pretty dark scenes to be had in the mix, even to the point that it might be too scary for kids at first glance. But bottom line, is this film really worthy to call itself a true Roald Dahl adaptation? Well, let's watch the film to find out. We start off with our opening title sequence, which may look lazy, but at the same time, it kind of feels like we're in a survival horror game.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.
We then transition into an orphanage where a little girl can't seem to go to Slumberland.
No.
Who is that out of bed?
Sophie, miss.
You get back at once. Punishment in the morning.
Yes, miss.
There you see the first sign of a true Roald Dahl adaptation. Everyone except our main character is a complete tool. Wait, I thought I was watching something by Stephen King.
But trust me when I say that cliche shouldn't be your worst fear right now, when all of a sudden...
Should be a term that I should use in order to clarify how scared to the core I am of how much I am going to poop myself. Well, I'm gonna keep watching to find that out and to see if this movie will increase my vocabulary and release my bowels.
Foreshadowing? Gleam balls? End of statement. So, for confusing now but making more sense later reasons, the giant takes the girl away from her bed and runs back to his homeland. What? I'm not taking copyright risks for your obvious joke. Bugger you all! So as the giant runs some more, we get a glimpse of this new world, which, while it doesn't look grand as a whole, just the atmosphere and mood alone just pretty much makes up for that. And trust me when I say that...
This is only the beginning.
The giant arrives in his cave, the little girl still scared, and we see the giant for whom he really is.
Now then, what has us got here?
And he looks like Ricky Rooney if he was playing Big Ears from Noddy. What? What are you looking at?
Because I's a giant, you reckon I's going to gobble you up and crunch your bones?
The giant jokes around the idea of all giants eating human beings for a while in the traditional Roald Dahl way.
Bone-crunching giant. He likes turkey best.
That's not a human being. It's a bird.
He's creeping off to Turkey every night to eat Turks. Turks from Turkey is tasting of Turkish delight.
And yes, human beings are called human beings by giants. Subtle.
What sort of flavour am I going to be when you eat me?
What?
Okay, we can just add this to the many wonderful ways of saying the simple word "what" collection.
What? Oh, what? 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 What?
What?
What?
What?
What?
What?
What? Me? Gobbling up human beings? I is a nice giant. There's not another giant like me in all a giant country. I is the big, friendly giant. The BFG. That's me.
Really? Because the only BFG I know is a big... God. So, you can tell how I really need to go to the bathroom right now. What term can I use? What can I say that I can use to go?
I've eaten Snozzcumber'd.
Yes. Yes. That's the term I can use. Yeah, Excuse me, I'm gonna go make a giant Snozzcumber'd. Oh, yeah, oh, God. Oh, that's good to hear right now.
And I guess amongst all this, we learn that the little girl's name is Sophie.
Because obvious choice of obvious name for obvious granddaughter is obviously obvious.
And we also get her backstory.
I does not go snitching things.
You snitched me?
Yes. And now I can't help thinking about your poor mother and father.
I don't have a mother and a father. They died when I was a baby.
Orphanages is nice and jubbly places, eh?
All except ours. If you do the slightest thing wrong, Mrs. Clonkers gives you punishments.
How punishments?
Well, if you don't fold your clothes properly or something, she locks you in the cellar. And there are great big rats down there. You get really frightened.
That is the hardest thing I've heard in years.
Please don't cry. BFG?
Now I'm upset over you kidnapping me to avoid the military trying to hunt you down more than kidnapping me. Yes. That's the reason she snatched folks. Makes sense now, doesn't it?
Hey, can you keep a whoopsie big secret?
Okay. You're gonna mention a big whoopsie secret to a little girl, huh? I wonder if there's anything that's more creepy, or dare I say, scarier than that. Man, Brian Blessed really let himself go.
This new giant, called the Blood Butler, has come into the BFG's cave because he...
Smell human being.
He likes creepy synthesizer music.
Smell human being.
But is lured right off because of the Snozzcumber'd, but...
No, stop! It's my boat. Oh, Sophie, what has I done?
Well, that was dark. Well, I mean, well, how's the rest of the story going to evolve from this dark turn of events, huh? I mean, this giant, this big, friendly giant, if you will, has to deal with the guilt that he let this little girl be eaten to death. And there was not a solid thing he can do about it. He'll have to, deal with something that took so little time, and yet will affect him for the rest of his days.
Over here!
Sophie. You is alive!
Oh yeah, that's right, kids movie. Shouldn't really have gotten my hopes up there.
Alright, in all seriousness, Sophie isn't a bad character at all. I mean, yeah, she is scared of this place and of the BFG at first, but as a kid, wouldn't you be afraid as well? As the movie progresses, she does learn to be a little more confident and even help out in her own way. My only gripe though, and I'm not against the voice actress for this, but...
Oh no! I thought he was going to kill you! I can't! That's good! Put them in prison! I don't know how!
Kid! Take a Snozzcumber'd already!
Oh, it's lovely!
Or a bath. Yeah, that works too. Say, what was the BFC rating for this movie again? Yeah, okay. And what was the BBFC rating for, say, the Simpsons movie?
Clearly the times have changed.
We also learn of another addition to the BFG's pantry.
A whiz popper!
What?
A whiz popper! It's a sign of happiness! It is jollifying music!
Not. Very rude.
Really? Really? I see. No, okay, yeah. I guess the only way that we can fully explain what a whiz popper is with the most proper manner that this movie can conjure up. Hit the song.
Whiz pop, whiz bang, feel the bubbles go down. Whiz bang, whiz pop, bursting all around. Whiz pop, whiz bang, take it nice and slow. Use them as something, the fabulous feeling of whiz popping wherever you go.
How marvelous! If ever there was an official anthem for the simple art that is farting, this is it.
If you feel the rocket go off in your pocket and all of a sudden you's up in the air, the purples and fizzes, the poppers and whizzes that makes you do things that you never dare.
Creative lyrics, a catchy tune, and a quotable chorus. Nothing else you can say except... Anyway, cut to the next day, as the BFG and Sophie make their way to a magical place where those green blobs from earlier can be found and used for children's dreams. You see...
Oi, come here.
No, wait, maybe later. You see,
This place is hidden in this mountain for our hand via a heavenly gateway. One good thing to come from these running scenes is the atmosphere and the creativity that the artists have in bringing this desolate world to life. But one bad thing from this is trying to make out what these characters are saying from really far away.
No other animals is doing it.
Cats kill mice.
They does not kill other cats, does they? Huh? I have something very extra usual to be showing you.
don't you just love it when characters are so far away that you can hardly tell what they're saying to them so far away that you're so focused on this marvelous background?
I thought so.
What do we do now? Huh?
If this not be symbolism, I don't know what is!
Now you is in dream country.
Oh, I just want to retire here. Just set up the Infinity Chili PlayStation 1 games and hand tactics to the side, and my afterlife will be complete.
There is dreams all round here. Missed it! There's one! Quick! Open the door!
Oh, David Jason, I can tell you are having so much fun playing this character. Clearly, playing the roles of Del Boy, Danger Mouse, and Granville will do you well in your upcoming role as Jack Frost.
Sometimes secretly we'd all like to know of somewhere safe in dreams.
Huh. Disney much?
But a bad dream, see, because it's, red, is caught, and the BFG takes it back into his dream cave. Yes, that's what he calls it.
In my dream cave.
In fact, a lot of these places have dream in their title, don't they?
The dream way. Now you is in dream country. In my dream cave.
I'm just waiting for Kirby to show up unannounced and say, Wait. Dreamland is taken.
Oh, he won't be scaring any little chitlers.
But does the evil dream come back into play later on in this movie?
Look, that kid has a Danger Mouse poster on his wall! Shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out, shout out! Where's the Count Dracula action figure?
So they go back to Earth to give the little kids their happy dreams.
Come on, come on.
Give them the one where they're clowns in a circus. I want to see.
Jeez, this movie is becoming so lighthearted. I mean, it's being all fun, everyone's being happy. Dreams are delightful. Well, I think we need to go back to the little darker side that we had at the beginning of the movie. So, you want to try that, kids? Okay, well, how about we have the leader of the evil giants go after that kid that our heroes just gave the happy dream to and have him being eaten up? Say, what was the BBFC rating for this movie again? Yeah, okay. And, say, what was the, BBFC rating for, oh, I don't know, Jack the Giant Slayer?
Clearly the times they haven't changed.
You just ran away. We could have stopped him.
I never stopping him. He would just punch me down and kick me.
You're a coward.
Oh, come on now, Sophie, my dear. Now, don't you be comparing me to a certain troll living in Central Park.
Oh, BFG, we've got to stop them.
Oh, there's not anything we can do.
There must be.
So now we have a reason to go after the evil giants, but who would believe us now then?
There's the Queen of England. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll go to the Queen.
That's right, the highest authority in our homeland would be the perfect candidate to wage war against monsters the size of buildings. Well, give her credit. At least she didn't think of this dude.
Yes, it's coming. There he is.
The BFG whips up a dream based on his collection and Sophie's idea where the giants are eating the children. Classic. Then they arrive at Buckingham Palace to give the monarch a full dosage of evil NyQuil. And wouldn't you know, the Queen predicts the morning's headline for the paper.
Tragic horror as children slain, bones found beneath dormitory windows.
Gee, what a coincidence!
Oh! How did you get in there?
I simply don't believe it.
Now come on downstairs. Oh, you'll be for it, you will.
Don't you make me slap you with my pussy!
You were the girl in my dream. I dreamed that a very tall giant put you there. And that he's waiting outside now in the garden.
But it's okay, because the Queen had the dream about the new stealing giants, so it's cool, it's cool. Oh yeah, and there's the good giant outside, but who'd be caring about that? So the BFG is invited into the dining hall, somehow getting inside it all.
Did he just, lift the roof?
And he makes himself right at home.
Doesn't you have any from Scotland here through his popping?
No. Shh. I enjoy music at breakfast. In Scotland, they play the bagpipes outside my window. Please play something.
No, you're not to.
Still making that whole national anthem a hit, huh? Age rating for this movie? Yeah, that's good. And, the age rating for, say, Master in Disguise? No, that's a stupid comparison.
I think, on the whole, I prefer the bagpipes.
The head of both the Army and the Air Force are requested into the presence of the Queen to discuss the plan. They take the news and the BFG presents the typical way for a typical war man.
But, no, don't worry, Your Majesty. We'll protect you. It's all right, little girl. Now, don't be frightened.
It's okay. They're men, and veteran war heroes to boot. Let's make a comical scene out of this.
Strategy is quite simple, Your Majesty. Tanks.
Tanks? Nonsense. Bombs.
Bombs? Ridiculous. We'll mow them down.
Oh, kaboom. Bombs.
Kapoff. Tanks.
Kaboom.
Kapoff.
Goodness me, will these two forces just make love already?
Kapoff.
There will be no bombs.
Kaboom.
And no guns.
Kapoff. Yes, Your Majesty.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Sophie and the Queen decide the best way to deal with the giants is to capture them and not harm them, as to not stoop to their level. Now that's actually a pretty clever way to do that. Good job, Mr. Doll. But next time, could you tell the animators not to prepare for war, then arrive in giant country that approximately takes a total of 4 minutes to do so? Saves time that way.
All right. Forward, men. Nothing to be scared of.
They say this will be a great story to tell Faulty later on. What? Forward!
I did it for Pete, and a lot of other people too. I mean, Stefano, I did for too. Alright, so, did we go in here? Yeah, we did. Alright, let's just strut my way
I'm sexy and I know it.
So, as you would expect, the small little army overpowers the big evil giants with brain and not brawn. Sounds like an awful lot like a fairy tale, but
Nah, they're not gonna reference that. You're stupid. Yeah, you take down that Colossus. You take that down, Colossus, and then you absorb his darkly goodness. Oh, is it over?
not yet. As the leader of the giants...
Dude, I was asking a question here!
Well, you wanted to know, and I gave you an answer.
Well, there's no need to be rude and be interrupting me.
Come on, you were clearly done.
Well, I'll be done with you in a second there, Sonny Jim.
Was that a challenge, then?
Oh, you bet your sweet little arse that I'm gonna be like that, sir.
Oh my, that was good. I mean, so the Flesh Lump Eater overpowers the Squadron and goes after the BFG.
BFG, come back!
I does not want to be a coward.
You're not a coward. I'm sorry. You're a coward.
Yes, I showed them the way.
Why?
Because you is evil, and I sees it now.
You is like human being.
Human being.
That was the best thing I've had all week. Anyway, what were we doing exactly? Oh yeah, that's right. So, this is it. The final climatic battle is to be at hand. Giant versus giant. Goliath versus Goliath. To the test of struggle that will decide who will overpower the... Or we can have this little girl be chased by the evil giant. Oh. Well. That works too. I bet she'll taste like cough drops.
So yeah, he goes after Sophie now as she runs into the BFG's home and tries to avoid capture. and she's helped by that rat thing that's appeared as background foil so far.
Well, to be fair, at least this thing doesn't talk. But could you imagine what would happen if that was true?
And your comic relief, suckers, be green with envy. See how precious I look? I'm more meaningful than the slugs from Epic. Fear my screamer face!
So this goes on until the BFG returns with that bad dream he captured earlier. See, it was important, Internet! And uses it against the evil giant to finally defeat him.
It wasn't me this time, officer. I swear.
But gee, what was that awful dream containing in its confined sources anyway?
It's about Jack.
Jack.
Jack is the only thing Giants is frightened of. He's a famous and terrible giant killer.
He doesn't have a beanstalk, does he?
Oh, yes, he does. You knows about him, too. Why is he laughing so much?
Because as we all know from the classic fairy tale, Jack takes a bath every day so that way the giant won't smell his awful stench and that way he'll be rich beyond his wildest dreams. Why aren't you buying his books, people?
The BFG is knighted, the orphanage Sophie lived in before is now closed down, and the orphans can now live in Buckingham Palace. What can ruin this happy ending now?
Well, although the movie has been faithful in telling the original book story for a good chunk of the time, the ending, on the other hand, for the movie at least, is what is majorly different. And here's why.
But I must be tootling off now.
You're not going.
You're not going?
I has my work to do, you see, Magister. I has my dreams to blow.
Now, some might argue that the BFG is being selfish for this decision of leaving because he wants to return to the status quo, and for the writers to make a quick sobbing in the audience like that. But when you find out that in the book, the BFG and Sophie are living in a mansion, practically millionaires, I'm going in with the sob story.
I'm sure he'll be back to see us sometimes.
But I didn't want to see him sometimes. I wanted to be with him always.
Age ready for this? Okay. And say the age ready for the Lion King. The times! They have not changed!
Does you, Sophie?
Yes, of course I do.
Is you sure?
Yes.
I is not having any palace for you.
I know.
Well, let's be going home then. We had dreams waiting for us.
You see here? That was a happy ending after all, everyone. Makes you wonder how Sophie is doing in her adult life. Having adult urges. Whatever. Happy ending! Yay! Well, we can just call that symbolism for going into heaven. BFG! man, it's still as good as I remember.
I mean, okay, it's not perfect in its own merit. The story can be basic at times, Sophie's screams can be taxing, and the animations for the characters themselves are a little too bland. I mean, seriously, why is the Queen so serious? But other than those nitpicks, this is a dang good movie for both adults and children. It can be clever, it can be magical, it can be a tad emotional, it can even be funny when it wants to be. The voice work, especially on David Jason's part, are very well done, and I pray to God that Roald Dahl was proud of how this movie turned out. Shame you won't be skeptical on Spielberg's take on it in a few years, which, by the way, has the same writer for E.T. involved.
So you better not mess this up, Mr. Spielberg, and for that, I might be able to overlook your past failures.
But until then, get the special widescreen edition and enjoy it for yourselves. The BFG. People, why isn't this in your home?
So remember, boys and girls, just because a forgotten gem is deemed to be forgotten, that doesn't mean it's gonna go ahead and be forgotten. There's gonna be some people who's gonna relish in the fact that this was better than James and the Giant Peach, that it was better than Matilda, better than The Witches, better than that crap fest with Tim Burton directing at the helm, making Willy Wonka look like freaking Michael Jackson. Yes, yes. This is what you're missing out on. I'm the preschool guy. Now, if you excuse me, it's been a while, and I need to go take a huge Snozzcumber'd! I love stroking my pussy. In fact, nothing makes me happier in the world than have someone else stroking my pussy. Just thought I had that in there.